Alright, Chapter 8, Section 1 is entitled Angle Pairs. And we start with the definitions up here on the TV. First definition coming up is definition of a straight angle. A straight angle is an angle whose measure is 180 degrees. An angle whose measure is 180 degrees. Straight angle is the same thing as a straight line for all purposes. Straight angle, an angle whose measure is 180 degrees. Straight angle, angle whose measure is 180 degrees. Straight angle, angle whose measure is 180 degrees. Right angle, an angle whose measure is 90 degrees. An angle whose measure is 90 degrees. Angle whose measure is 90 degrees. No matter how poorly you draw your right angle, if you put this upside down backwards L in it, that indicates right angle. Right? So as long as you slip that in there and it looks somewhat close, I'm going to recognize that as a right angle. Right angle. Angle whose measure is 90 degrees. Alright, supplementary angles. Two or more angles whose sum is 180 degrees. Two or more angles whose sum is 180 degrees. Two or more angles whose sum is 180 degrees. We have two similar definitions here, one coming up, the next one would be complementary. Supplementary and complementary have very similar definitions. What I often tell people is to think of the S in supplementary angle as the same S as in straight angle. Supplementary angles make 180, a straight angle is 180. Supplementary angles, two or more angles whose sum is 180 degrees. As promised, the next definition coming up is complementary angles. Complementary angles, two or more angles whose sum is 90 degrees. Two or more angles whose sum is 90 degrees. Two or more angles whose sum is 90 degrees. Next definition of vertical angles. Angles formed by the intersection of two lines at a point. Angles formed by the intersection of two lines at a point. As you can see, I've labeled in the drawing at the bottom there two different sets of vertical angles. The one set marked A is a set of vertical angles. The other set marked B is a set of vertical angles. Vertical angles have an important property. It's not written up there, but you might want to write it down. Vertical angles are congruent. Congruent, in case you've forgotten, is the geometry word for equality. We don't say two angles are equal, we say two angles are congruent. So if I tell you this angle over here, angle A on the left, is 72 degrees, then this angle here, A, is also 72 degrees. If I tell you this angle B is 99 degrees, then this angle B is 99 degrees. Next definition coming up, I believe, is perpendicular lines. Yes, it is. Perpendicular lines, two lines that intersect at a right angle. Two lines that intersect at a right angle. Two lines that intersect at a right angle. And the last definition is the definition of parallel lines coming up. Parallel lines, two lines in the same plane, P-L-A-N-E, plane, two lines in the same plane that do not intersect. Two lines in the same plane that do not intersect. Lines in the same plane that do not intersect. Okay. And now we go back to the board. All right. Start over there with example 1. Example 1. An angle measures 24 degrees. Find the measure of one accompanying complementary angle, one accompanying supplementary angle, two accompanying complementary angles, two accompanying supplementary angles. Angle measures 24 degrees. Find the measure of one accompanying complementary angle, one accompanying supplementary angle, two accompanying complementary angles, two accompanying supplementary angles. All right, so the first one accompanying complementary angle. Hopefully you remember from the definitions, or hopefully find it. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to make 90 degrees. Now I'm already telling you that I've given you an angle that measures 24. I'm trying to make 90. So I'm just saying to myself, what plus 24 makes 90? Well, 66 plus 24 makes 90. So the one accompanying complementary angle has to be 66 degrees. All right, now the next one says one accompanying supplementary angle. Supplementary, again, from the definitions, make 180. Remember I told you to use the same S in supplementary as the same S as in straight angle. So I'm saying to myself, what plus 24 makes 180? Well, 156 plus 24 makes 180. This one's 156. All right, now the next couple, there's a whole lot of answers you can come up with that work. The next one says two accompanying complementary angles. So now I'm going back to trying to make 90, but I'm looking for two other angles plus 24 that make 90. So you can come up with any set of numbers you want here. All right, I could say 1 and 65. Because if I add 1 degree, 65 degrees, and 24.